Welcome back to another episode of Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. I am your host, DJ Sir Daniel, and I am so thankful for all of the support that we received in such a short time. And today I'm super thrilled because this show is being recorded at a location that's very special, not only to me, but to hip-hop in general. We are coming to you live from Scratch Atlanta DJ Academy. Let's make some noise for that, everybody.
Yes.
And this is a homecoming for me because I took lessons here. And what's super special about Scratch Academy is that it was founded in the memory of the icon Jam Master Jay of the iconic rap group Run DMC. When we discuss legends and icons of hip hop, I notice that we tend to refer to the same three people over and over again. And I just happen to feel like there's more stories that need to be told. So in this episode, I get to chop it up with a woman that is just as intricate to the culture as Jam Master Jay. So when we come back, we will hear from the legendary DJ, producer, radio personality, and now designer, DJ Jazzy Joyce. This is Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel. Come on back after this.
All right.
Hello, advertisers. It's DJ Sir Daniel. Thank you for listening to my show. Don't you love my voice? Well, it can be yours for an on-air spot just like this one. Email me at shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. That's shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com for details on how you can get your own custom-made cotton candy sweet as gold live commercial spot. Let's get this money. Welcome back. It's a Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. I am your host, DJ Sir Daniel. And again, like I said, we are broadcasting live from the Scratch Atlanta DJ Academy right here in Kirkwood in the city of Atlanta. And I am honored to have on the show the legend herself, DJ Jazzy Joyce. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you sincerely and humbly for having me. Came down for a good cause. We're doing an event at Skate Town tonight, and that's the reason why I was brought to Atlanta. So shouts out to the young lady. I hate referring to people by their Instagram name, but Skate Socialite, I think. Okay. So if y'all follow me on the gram, y'all see I've been saying I'm coming down.
Skate Socialite, and I believe DJ Royce is also a part
one
of
the DJs.
One of
There's
the DJs,
four other local DJs that are involved. At first, I did like a little spot, and I incorrectly pronounced one of the DJs' name, and they got technical on me, so I just chopped everybody's name out. I was like, "Oh, you niggas got it." I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything.
It's all good. No. Well, again, welcome to Atlanta. When was the last time you've been here to Atlanta?
Exactly. I'm trying to remember, what did I do to come down here? It's been a minute. It's been some time. I haven't been here in a while. It'll come to me.
Well, we are super glad to have you here straight from the NYC.
Yes.
And you are from the Bronx.
Yes, born and raised.
Born and raised in the Bronx. And the Bronx is the nexus of hip-hop, as we all know. And it's well represented today by the likes of Fat Joe, Remy Ma, Deezus and Mero, a whole lot more. There's so many more. But recently... Cardi B. Oh, yeah. Cardi B is the hottest in the streets right now. And she's so BX. So BX.
She's extra BX.
Extra BX. BXXXX. Recently, there was a celebration for 1520 Sedgwick Avenue.
Correct.
Please explain to the audience the significance of that address.
Okay. It represents the first, the real, I got some of the other information about that. That represents the location that could be considered the start and the birthplace of hip-hop. It's where Kool Herc had the jam that kind of made a difference on the world. It's I forgot the exact date. August. The birth date has been.
It was recent.
Yes, they recently certified it as the birth date, and I was speaking to DJ Scratch about that, and he said it. But that's the place where he actually did a
street jam.
block party, right?
A block
but
party.
It was really for his sister. Like, so, because that was part of the conversation. It's like, is she partly responsible, or is it like that was? I was like, anyway. So that's where Cool Herc DJ'd, and just the energy of the block parties. That was the beginning for the world.
And so, when it comes to growing up in the Bronx, and
At that location,
at that particular location, and growing up in the Bronx, like, when did you get the fever? When did you get the the bug? Like, oh, this is me. This is my calling. Hip hop needs me.
I was probably about 9, 10, or 11. Because growing up in the Bronx, being born and raised there, every time you go outside, we saw the culture, like the graffiti on the trains going by. I actually saw them at the park jams hooking up equipment to the lampposts. Like, I saw that process where they opened up the lower part. Like, you gotta think, those young black men back there were geekified to the fullest. Because who was the young man who was telling them what wires is the right wire or the wrong wire to keep from frying to death? And how do we rig it to power everything without blowing it? So there was always these great minds, but you don't make the correlation of what they do, in a sense.
Because nowadays,
those are geeks from back then.
And nowadays, like a website like BuzzFeed will call that, hacks to, improve your street party or block party or whatever. But that's something. Yeah, exactly.
We call it.
But back then, right? But back then, we were referred to as thugs and hooligans for, tapping into the street power to make these parties and and these happenings happen. But it was a part of history and it needed to happen. And one of the other things that needed to happen, you were also a part of a movement that flourished from the streets of the Bronx, the Zulu Nation.
Yes.
You mentioned you started very early, like in your preteens.
Yes.
How did you become a part of the Zulu Nation? And while we're talking about that, for those of you at home that can't hear, that are listening to the show, you can't see this obviously, but there's a picture that I found online, and is that you?
Yes, it is.
That is you wearing your headdress.
It wasn't my headdress. Okay. It was probably someone's headdress at the time, or they dressed me as that. What movie set was that?
It could have
taken
been
from, or something.
It could have been Wild Style or Beach Street, something like that.
Yeah, I was in Beach Street, but not in the capacity that you would think.
Right.
You remember the scene in Beach Street with Us Girls?
The Us Girls?
Yeah. In real life, beyond the movie, I used to DJ for the 3 of them. And we all went to audition for the movie, and someone told them to X me out. But then I did the 2 and 2 and the whatever and tried to figure it out. Wanda D at that time was like my biggest competition. Okay. And you notice in the movie, she was in the movie.
Yes.
So then I put the 2 and 2 together. I was like, oh my God, I've been getting hated on for so long. I was too young to realize what happened. But that was a political chop, right? Like, so you know what I'm saying? So we disbanded because we were working on things in real life beyond the movie. So I don't remember where that's from, but that's definitely me, and that's definitely Pow Wow, Africa Bambaataa influenced-ish. I'm trying to remember where that is.
So being a part of the Zulu, what did that mean to you at the time, being a part of the Zulu Nation? Because you mentioned African Bambaataa, who is considered the godfather, one of the godfathers of hip hop, and creating that movement. What did that mean to you as a young lady, a young black woman growing up in the Bronx? Did it mean protection because you had a brotherhood behind you as well?
Right. It just meant that they were representing the culture that I fell in love with. Like, everything about what they did was right there in front of me. He's from the area, the Bronx. I'm born and raised in the Bronx, and like I said, every time when I go outside, everything about the culture was outside, so they meant everything. I saw them, so I guess in a sense I I didn't necessarily emulate right away. I studied.
You studied.
A lot of people don't study.
Who was, did you latch on to one mentor in particular?
Back then, WizKid, he passed away. He recorded on Tommy Boy. His catalog is there. He did records with Globe and WizKid. This record called Play That Beat. He did some records with myself and a group called Sweet Trio that his wife was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So he was one of my early mentors. Then my later mentors, you know, through observation, you could credit Bam, Red Alert, Jazzy J, all of those people as later on they became close mentors, but I still was observing and studying. And then the foundation was taught to me by my cousin. And then other mentors would be DJ Scratch, DJ Clark Kent, like later on when I got into the battle energy of things. So I've had a couple, and then one of the last ones who had a major influence on the shape of my swag of everything was Kid Capri. It's like, he forced me to talk to y'all, because I wasn't gonna talk. I was always just, let me stay right here, because
that takes a lot of energy, because I struggle with that.
with
talking to the crowd, because I'm concentrating so hard on what's my next selection going to be. What, I'm thinking about, okay, did they like that? Okay, they didn't like that. Let me try and get to, you're always constantly thinking of what's the next record, because you don't want people to leave the floor, and you don't want people to have that screw face like, what is he doing?
Right. So I'm thankful to him for forcing me to speak more, because he always used to be like, what's the difference? I got the same records. So in order to separate myself from you, and the one thing that is my uniqueness is my personality. So how do I interject my personality into the presentation of the music? So that's where the art form, and that's where it feels different when somebody like me gets on and a young DJ doesn't understand. I've had this happen. He came in the booth, he's like, I just played that 5 minutes ago. They didn't react like that. And I was pushing him out the booth. I know. I know. But
I've noticed while we were setting up in here, it's like you naturally have a teacher's instinct. Like, there was a moment back there, and shout out to JC, DJ JC is in the building,
yes,
who is world renowned. Everybody knows JC is Ludacris's DJ for many years, and he's just a crazy DJ battler as well. And he it wasn't beyond him, and his ego wasn't too big to like take a beat and listen to Jazzy Joyce say,
it wasn't
let's.
I kind of challenged him creatively.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of, like,
that's what the culture is built on.
That's
basically
what anything is built on. It's about, let me find somebody who's gonna make me be a better me. I'm not gonna. Metal sharpens metal. So it's like, I kind of was like, he's the only other person in the room that I know is for sure, that I know of, I don't know, is close to the level of my level. So it was just like, yo, let me talk to you. So that's how you get better.
Absolutely.
When you're like, if you're a martial artist, you're not gonna fight a little kid. You want to fight somebody else that's kind of at your level, so you can learn. And so that's all it was. It was just.
Oh, and it's perfectly okay. And we're having like the best time in here, just talking to DJ Jazzy Joyce, who is my guest on this episode of Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. You mentioned battling, and there was a movement. There was a time in particular that we're going to talk about when we come back. Okay. We're going to discuss what we refer to lovingly as the golden era, and the zeitgeist for young black women in hip hop. So when we come back, Shuffle and Repeat podcast, I'm your host, DJ Sir Daniel. My special guest is DJ Jazzy Joyce. We're live here at Scratch Atlanta DJ Academy. Come on back after this.
Yes.
This is DJ Sir Daniel. Thank you so much for listening to Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. And right now I want to talk to my business owners. You, the advertiser. This spot could be your own, very own custom-made commercial spot. Let's talk about it. Email me at shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. That's shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. You can get your very own custom-made commercial on-air spot read live by me, DJ Sir Daniel. So let's talk about it. Now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. We're broadcasting live from Scratch Atlanta DJ Academy. I want to take the time to give a special thank you to DJ Precise for allowing us to have this conversation here. Let's give it up for DJ Precise.
Yes. Thank you, Precise.
And if you've been hearing the vibes in the background, it's because of the one and only DJ Aquaria representing for the ladies. So thank you so much, sis. DJ Aquaria in the building. And we're back to our special guest, the legendary DJ Jazzy Joyce. Do you get tired of hearing that, legendary?
I just feel like I still got more things to do. So, I mean, it's a blessing. Like, a lot of the things that we've done, we didn't realize we were making history back then. And if we did, it would have just been documented differently. I did a lot of documentation of myself.
That's so important.
Yeah. There's a lot of DJs that probably don't have their mixtape collection or stuff like that. They won't tell you that, but they don't have it. They don't have pictures. I have, from very early on, because I was one of the pioneers of the craft, there was this, I was in London at the time. I think I was 17. And this lady came up to me and she said, document your own history, because they won't. So from that moment on, I was taking pictures. We didn't have the digital cameras. I had to pay the film, take it, put it, and pick it up. So I got a lot of pictures and stuff like that. That was an investment in myself.
And that lady coming to you, that sounds like a really divine moment that woman came up to you and said that specifically to you at the age of 17. And another divine moment that happened earlier, y'all didn't see this, but DJ Aquaria came in with a T-shirt with the year 1987 on it. And 1987 is a significant year because we're going to look at another photograph.
Okay. Yeah.
1987 New Music Seminar in, of course, New York. For those of you at home, I'm going to tell you who is in this photograph.
Yeah,
from
me.
left to right. Of course, we had a DJ Jazzy Joyce. Next to her is first priority music rap soloist MC Peaches. And of course, in the middle, the queen of Brooklyn at the time, that was MC Light. And before Drake was even thought of, Michie Me was like, she was a rapper, she was an actress, and she was like really put Toronto on the map. Big time.
Before Drake.
But way before Drake was even thought of. Way before Drake. So shout out to Michie Me. And next to her, I mean, does she even need an introduction? That's Dana Owens,
Queen Latifah.
Grammy Award winning
She just had
rapper,
a great movie.
A fantastic movie with Girls Trip.
Yeah.
And of course, next to her is a hip hop import from the UK, Moni Love. Everybody is like bamboo earrings out. You can tell it's 87, and that's one of my favorite eras. I love that era. So
and look at me.
And look,
Black sheep, the black shirt, and the shirt says "Stop the violence."
Yeah.
And we need that right now.
Absolutely.
That's crazy, right?
And it's so crazy. We like to talk about the hashtag now is Black Girl Magic. In 1987, we had Black Girl Magic. Did you know? Like at the time, did all of you know at the time that you were like on the precipice of a movement ushering, a slew of women into hip hop, into the forefront of hip hop? Because that was like the platform, that catapulted a lot of these ladies' careers, including yours. But recording artist wise, did you guys know that at that time? Like
absolutely not. Everything would have been handled differently. All the way around. Because I bet artists today, knowing what that day was like and remembering that, and remembering what it was all about and how we moved. I know they'd move and think differently now.
Mm-hmm.
So no, but that's what I say that all the time. We didn't know we were making history.
Were you guys like friends, or did you know each other beforehand, or what was it like? Because you're 6 young black girls in the midst, and this is before like labels were really trying to put money behind anybody in hip hop, much less black women in hip hop. Did you guys know that you I see that you banded together automatically, but what was the
Actually,
the
that was
feeling?
just a photographer just suggesting that because we were kind of floating in the same area, so that he made a magical moment at the time when we were together. But I know Light and Latifah and Moni personally because of just the way they were moving and stuff like that, and I was very supportive of them as a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody ever really knows anybody on a personal level. If you really think about it. Really.
And
we taking chances to make something great when we come together. Like,
I had no idea at the time.
If you knew, if we would move differently.
Yeah. And so, like I said, this was 1987, the New Music Seminar, which was also a very, very significant moment for you.
Yes.
Because,
Woo.
now let me set this up.
Okay.
4 years prior to that, you won the DJ battle, correct?
I beat Wanda D, which remember what I made the reference of, like, so I didn't make the correlation, like, she was probably still mad at that.
So she was salty at the time. You think.
Right,
Gotcha.
and then make the political move to get me X'd out of it. It's interesting. So,
But fast forward to 1987.
Right.
No more putting, let's just have the girls battle the girls.
They put us all in the pot
All
together.
in the
like,
pot.
They didn't separate it by gender, because that's why I beat her in 83. So then they was like, no more gender thing. Let's put them all together. So then they boxed me in with the guys, and I went pretty far because my formidable training came from Scratch and Clark Kent, unknowingly to anybody else. They didn't know I came there ready like that. So what happened was I wound up making it pretty far, and I went up against DJ Cash Money. And if you know his history, and he's based out of Philly, and them Philly DJs was real with it, like Jazzy Jeff, all that stuff. And I almost knocked him out of the situation. In points, I lost by 3 points in terms of the total scoring.
Do you remember who was on the panel, the judges panel?
A little bit by photographic memory, but not by name. My photographic memory serves me at a level that it's incredible. That's how I used to be. I wasn't deemed a threat back in the early days, so I used to get close to the DJ, and I would see the records and the album covers when they would pull up the records. So then I was taking photographic memory pictures of certain, and then I would go record hunting based off of that. So it was serving me for a long time.
Your photographic memory. So let me ask you this. Did the right person win?
In all fairness, yeah. Yeah. But it was good that I was there and that I did what I did at the time. There was nobody else there as a female giving motherfuckers a hard way.
Right. There was nobody else giving them the business except for DJ Jazzy Joyce.
Yeah, like, yo, what's up? It's not gonna be that easy.
And so at that time, you had a hit record under your belt, though.
Yes.
You came to the 1987 New Music Seminar with a hit record under your belt.
It's My Beat.
It's My Beat, and featuring
Sweet
the
Tea.
one and only Sweet Tea.
Yeah,
How did that change your life?
Not much, obviously. No, I'm being funny. I'm being funny a whole lot, because, tremendously. That's like, would be considered like my first hit record in a sense. Like, because that's not the first time I recorded. The first time I ever recorded was on Tommy Boy Records with the Sweet Trio, the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, WizKid. May he rest in peace. So that was my first hit, and it was like any other situation. To tell you how we came together really quick. I'm born and raised from the Boogie Down Bronx, lived in Parkchester. She dated Joe Ski Love, who had the record Pee Wee Dance out. And long story short, he was like, Jazzy, my girl's making a record. They're working on something. She needs a DJ. Would you like to? And I was like, okay, let me hear her out. The rest is history. So I really didn't know her. I just took a chance and came together with a stranger in a sense, and we made a lot of history, great history. Same thing with my stint, my 15 years at Hot 97. I didn't know Coco. I didn't know Angie. But when the opportunity was presented to me, it was a crossroad. How many of you have come across those crossroads where you got to make the decision? And I took the chance, and I shook the dice, and I made an impact on the world.
Because that was a moment that literally, like, there's not a whole lot of DJs that can say that there's a classic hip-hop record where their name is predominantly featured in the record. You get to hear your scratching on the record, and and you close out the record, as a matter of fact.
Jazzy Joyce on the wheel. No, right. So I'm gonna say Jazzy Joyce
on the wheel.
Jazzy Joyce.
No one better.
Jazzy Joyce.
Speeding faster than an '86 Jetta.
And then yes. So all of that, and then it was redone.
Thank you very much.
And then it was redone when I collaborated with Diggable Planets and their own. So it's like, you want me to? I'm not gonna, cause
because you be jumping around a little bit. You know where I'm
that's
going.
Why I apologize.
No problem. But I do want to ask you. So back to the whole Sweet Tea situation. So Sweet Tea went on to release her solo album under the guidance of Herbie Lovebug. She was in that camp, the Idol Makers camp, and he had a major roster of rap stars
Run
at
it
the
down
time.
so they know.
Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play, Dana Dane. Sweet Tea.
And Jazz, until
Jazzy,
I left.
Until you left. So that's my question. Why didn't Sweet Tea and Jazzy Joyce become a thing? Like, why didn't they continue as a major rap act and, make appearances together, the videos?
Yeah,
Thank you.
if a lot of acts break up, and it's the root of it is usually money.
Wow.
Oh
yes, I almost cannot forget about Antoinette, and I'm gonna ask you a question about that in the end, because we need
what
to.
About her?
I'm gonna put that out in the atmosphere. I need to find Antoinette, because that's a conversation that needs to be had. She's just about her journey, in the rap
I'm
industry.
sure she can be found.
Yeah, I'm trust me, I'm looking.
I know someone who ghost wrote for her back then when she was battling. Not to. But anyway, but most of the time, and it was just, in a sense, because all ships are ships, relationships, partnerships, and it was just irreconcilable differences. Gotcha. And I felt like I was given 110,000%.
Did you all tour at all, or together?
We did back then, but it wasn't at the level that you could, like, we did venues where it was 10,000 people, and the people on the bill, like the bill was Salt and Pepper, MC Shan, Heavy D, and the boys, and like we did huge stadiums, shows, and all of that. But it was just, to be politically correct, it was just irreconcilable differences.
Got it.
That's it. I wish, and we're mature now. And we just both wish that we didn't stop.
So are you guys in contact nowadays?
Yeah, but it gets weird again, because it's less like, then it was the hip-hop honors. I live in New York.
Right.
Queen Latifah is one of the executive producers. So is Moni Love. No one called Jazzy Joyce. How did that happen? Why did Spinderella have to shout me out?
She did, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of people felt the same way, that got left out of the that reunion, out of the show, out of the, even being represented on there.
It's all right. It's whatever. That stuff. I can't.
But that's why I'm glad that there's a Shuffle and Repeat podcast, because I get to give you your roses now, because, I need to let you know how important you are to the culture, and everybody knows it.
Thank you. Really quick.
Go ahead.
To close out the whole Sweet Tea thing, like in my mind, whatever her reason was for not saying to them, yo, y'all gotta call Joyce. It's like if she would have called me, instead of her standing in the lineup with all the other MCs, back then we were the only female group that it was a
duo.
Right,
Yeah.
but a DJ was involved. If she would have just put whatever feelings aside and hollered, it would have separated her from the line of MCs and brought her right here to where we were. We were the only one. But she didn't. So you stay right there.
Because you all could. There's no reason why you guys couldn't have been like a Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock.
Anything, just to. But you understand what I'm saying? If she's standing on the line with all, let's say how that photo is, and I was the only DJ, and it's a whole bunch of other MCs. She separates herself from that line by just including me.
Got it.
So there's a lesson in that, like.
Definitely.
You know.
So. Definitely a lesson to be taken from that. And so when we come back, I'm going to touch a little bit on New York nightlife back in the 80s, the golden era.
Ooh.
And yeah, this is getting really, really good. DJ Aquaria is on the ones and twos. You guys, I'm glad that you're able to listen to this. You're going to be able to see this on YouTube pretty soon. But when we come back, there's so much more to discuss with the legendary DJ Jazzy Joyce. I'm your host, DJ Sir Daniel. Yeah, we're going to talk about radio and, all that stuff and talking on the mic and everything. When we come back, thank you so much for joining us. It's Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. Come on back.
Hey.
Speaking of which.
Yeah.
This is DJ Sir Daniel, and you are listening to the best damn podcast ever. That's right, Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. And hey, business owners, advertisers, wouldn't you like to be a part of the show? You can. All you need to do is email me at shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. That's shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com, and we can discuss how you can have your very own custom-made commercial spot read by yours truly, DJ Sir Daniel. Come on, make that move. Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. We are back. Ain't that something?
Yes.
Shout out to Sweet Tea. Shout out to When I think about all those labels back there, your Profile Records, your Select Records, all the Next Plateau, all those labels, man. There was just so many rap labels back in the day. B-Boy Records. And like, what was... so a lot of those labels, were they run by gangsters?
What?
A lot of those hip hop labels.
A lot of the people do what I don't know. Is
Nah,
it
not
Jews
that you have. Okay.
run the industry. So if they're considered gangsters, then I guess.
So a lot of the back in that
the
time,
gang stuff didn't come till later.
Much later.
In
Gotcha.
terms of the influence and control that you see now.
Yeah, because I was listening to LL. He was on Nori's podcast, and he was talking about how he was running with your Alpos and those dudes, and we're talking about the Dapper Dan era where everybody
he got
was
a lot of his style and influence from Harlem guys and everything, like what you see. And then, for example, it's just like when you know too much, it's like you'll be blowing up too much stuff. I don't, because I really was there, so I don't. So it's like, Alpo and all of them were very influential because they really had money. Rappers didn't have money. Like when you look at the album cover with Eric B and Rakim, like the gentleman who those chains really belonged to was on the album cover. I don't mean to put it out there like that, but I was writing one of them for 10 years in jail. Like I was young and it's...
So, it was the streets and hip hop, that was a relationship that you just can't sever. If you're living in that element, you're going to be friends with people that are in that element. You're just doing something different. You're hustling in a different lane. That's it. Basically. That's the only thing that separated people in that era. And so, which brings me to the whole, that whole New York nightlife. This picture right here, I'm going to pull up.
Right. Recently
came up. There's a book that just came up, and I can't think of the name. No Half Stepping.
Oh,
is
it's
the name
in
of,
there?
Yeah, it's the name of the book. And we've got, what is it? MC Delight from Stetson Sonic.
Yeah.
Cool DJ Red Alert, the Prop Master, and of course Melly Mel.
Right.
And right there in the middle
It's little old me.
is the Gangsta Princess, Jazzy Joyce, hanging out. And I believe that's in front of the Latin Quarters, correct?
That's what they said.
Okay.
One of the people, whoever the photographer was, but more than likely it was,
Tell
because
us-
it wasn't too many spaces that.
Tell us about that. You know, the LQ days, as they like to refer to it.
Okay.
So nowadays everything is red carpets and velvet ropes, and you got to be on this and that list. From what I understand at that time, because I was a shorty back then, I couldn't be in the clubs. But if you went into the club, you could be standing next to your favorite rapper at any time and partying next to them. What was that whole element like? That scene?
It was the raw. It was hip hop in the raw. It was just everything. The one thing that I do remember the most about it, and I know you're gonna be like, "Wow." Well, I don't know you will be, but the original 50 cents, the real 50 cents, the young man that's who he is. He was very short, and he had like a little thing for me. You could see I was a little bit cute. I didn't realize it back then. I just was like, so when they were coming in to do whatever it is that they do, when he would ask me to leave, he would say, "Go home right now," and I would never question him. They were going to rob the place.
Ah, wow. Okay.
The original 50 Cent. So what I remember the most about Latin Quarters is myself and Sweet Tea. Our show was always so great that we got asked back to perform a lot of times. Like, I remember us doing shows there at least 4 or 5 times. But whenever we would perform, then we were asked to come back because it was her and I would start it off, and I'm doing the scratch routine, and then she comes out and she would do a freestyle, and then we running through the songs, and we just had a really tight show. And you got to remember, back then it wasn't the technology. My butt cheeks used to be tight all over, everywhere, trying to, master and keep that needle from jumping at all costs. Like, if you knew all the stuff that I went through, not I only, but people like me, for the culture,
because
yeah.
You were probably carrying your own crates.
At that time, this is part of the disconnect or whatever, because the money was different, and I was like, I'm trying to get turntables because I didn't want to have to keep having to politic with gentlemen to utilize their turntables for shows or practice or whatever. And it's like the split was whatever it was, and it was just like,
I can barely.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, and this is for us. It was, and then later on when I found it was just crazy. So yeah. DJing at the Latin Quarters, doing incredible shows is what I remember, and 50 Cent telling me to leave when they was getting ready to rob niggas for their chains. That's what I remember about Latin Quarters. And if you ask guys, their experience from Latin Quarters is different, because I don't know what happened when I left. So somebody got a story about that. I don't know how they used to do them, because he's little. He was little. So how was did he back out the hammer, line them up? Like, that's another story from somebody else. But it's the same night, same fight, but one of us ain't playing right. I'll let you tell it.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow, that's wild. I didn't think about that, the perspective, because that the chain snatching era was real, and I guess from a woman's perspective, you would be treated differently. Or you could have gotten yapped too.
Right, but still, look at that. Look at how they regarded women, even back then. Even whatever it is, if you're going to be whatever you're going to be, they just carry things differently.
So we're here in the golden era, which goes on to the 90s, and you have the distinct honor of being on the cover of a classic album. You were featured on a classic album. You weren't even on the album.
Right.
But you were on the album.
Yes.
I brought up the cover. We're
Yeah.
gonna talk about this cover right
Yeah,
here.
and I'm next to Bam.
You're next to Bam. So,
Wow.
okay, for those of you that are at home and listening right now, we're talking about the iconic
Tribe
album
Called
cover
Quest.
of A Tribe Called
You
Quest.
did your homework. Rest in peace,
Midnight
Heavy
Marauders.
D.
Yes.
Look at so you got
So-
Too Short, Heavy D, Kumo D, Grandmaster Flash,
Master Extra P in the
Jingle,
corner.
right?
The Jungle
Brothers, homeboy from
Beastie Boys in the corner.
right? They was so now here's a little story.
Yeah.
And then
Daddy
next to
O
him,
from
yeah.
Stetsasonic.
Who's the young man next to him? I know.
That's
I know.
Chuck D.
No, next
wait.
to Beastie Boys.
Oh,
Thank you.
Principal. Okay.
Prince Pope from the group. Thank you.
See,
Organized Confusion.
so okay, first of all, so was everybody there at the same time taking their pictures?
No.
or-
What happens with things like that is, you get asked to come for a photo shoot, and you thinking it's like you don't know what it is. You don't realize that all they're gonna utilize is just that, but you're asked. So it's another crossroad of taking a chance. It's like if you get invited somewhere and then you see on the gram all that what happened. You take the chance. You don't know sometimes what you're walking into. So I walked into it and I just did the photo and then became a part of history. So it's like when you go in a record store or you go anywhere and you see all these albums and all of these CDs and that's how many people took a shot at trying to make it.
Yeah.
So when you think about how many life decisions that I made, it's something inside of me that was making me make good calculated risk. Because every time when I made a choice, it seemed to be the right choices.
And there weren't too many other ladies featured in this
Yeah.
photo shoot. I know
No.
Sweet Tea was on the album cover.
Yes.
MC
Yeah.
Light is on the cover as well, yeah. I don't know and what's crazy to me is that was Moni on the cover or on the back side? Maybe because Moni and La, being that they were native tongue members, you
I'm
would
sure
think
they
that
were. The thing about it is those album covers, there were more than one to accommodate all of the faces. So there's certain, like when the album came out, you had to find the album that had your face on it. And I have I have a CD still wrapped, didn't crack it. By the way, I had to surrender my record collection. I had almost 1 million records. I had to let it go because it was too much to maintain.
Voluntarily surrender?
I had to. I was getting evicted. I didn't, it had to go. So it was a lot to move the collection. I was infringing on my friendships, just everything, just for the boxes alone.
Wow.
To move the equipment was about $3,500 worth of boxes.
Wow.
Just to move the
There's some
edit.
DJs in the audience right now that are holding their faces like they can't, shaking their
Yeah,
heads
I already
right
cried
now.
over it.
Like-
It's it's just life.
Because I remember when Tip reported, the Tip as in Q-Tip,
Yeah, I know what
reported
you-
about the his house burning down.
Yeah.
And all the wax that was destroyed in that fire. And it's like anybody that, knows about vinyl and how much it's worth, especially if you're a DJ, something like that is devastating to lose your collection, whether it's by fire or you have to give it away.
Yeah, for a while I used to cry when I would hear certain songs, like when people are playing certain songs in their car. I cried a lot because. Just because. Yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. We're
It's
still in the
okay.
90s. 1994, Diggable Planets released Blowout Cone. And the lead single was Ninth Wonder. And here you go again. Jazzy Joyce is back on the wheel.
Yeah.
But this time you're smoother than a 94 Land Cruiser.
Where you from?
The Bronx, representing like whatever, pop.
Who are you slicker this shit?
Why not?
Yeah, that's the remix. Yeah, that came about because I used to work at this place called the Funk Hut, and if you remember, every Tuesday was the day that they would release new music, like when they had the mom and pop record stores.
Super Tuesdays, yep.
Yeah, so Tuesday night was the night, and it would be star-studded because of that. Because it's Tuesday, the city, New York City, a lot of the artists would just be buzzing and be in Midtown. And Diggable Planets was one of the groups that kind of frequented the spot, and they asked me. But Ishmael asked me if I had the Furious 5 record with Making Money, making money. And I was like, yeah, I got that. He was like, let me hold that. I was like, listen. There's another reason why I kind of left Sweet Tea, too, because Herbie used to ask me for a lot of records, and I was like, go buy it. It was like everybody, they kind of tap in and infringe on your collection, but they don't realize all the things you went through to acquire. They don't know what you did. How many times I saved up my allowance, how many times I didn't eat, or how many times, whatever, to get a record, how far I went looking for it. So it's like, you just don't want to give it to anybody. So with that, when I got approached with the situation, I was like, listen, you want to use the record? Okay, fine. The record comes with me. Meaning, let's do something together. And then that's how we went to the studio. I'm actually cutting it. And then when it felt good the way it did, then they was like, you want to go on tour with us? The rest is history.
What was that like? Because that was not only just a nationwide tour, but that went international also, right?
It was amazing. They were Grammy Award winning. We were still on vinyl. It was the days of me trying to, again, make sure the needle doesn't jump, because I got to worry about, they used to be like, put the drum over there or put me over here. And it was the live upright bass player. Everything was, the trumpet players were live. We were all live. So that was one of the most, that's not farts, that's just me moving on the chair. It was an amazing touring experience with them.
That wasn't your first time out the country though, touring though?
No.
Okay.
No, but just
on that
the level, yeah, because that's a level up. Like
there was more budget.
Right. Mm-hmm. But even still back then, like, I was still kind of ahead of my time in a sense, because their management back then, I used to be like, yo, this is magic. And I used to tell their manager, you should be documenting this. And she used to have this nonchalantness about it.
Because nobody else cared about it like we care about it.
Imagine if y'all could have seen that. Like, well, a real turn in the story was one time, if y'all know, if any of you had the experience of running into Kanye. I'm a Gemini. He's a Gemini. He's sarcastic. He's whatever. We had an exchange, and I kind of got at him like, I will fuck you up. And then he calmed down and was like, no. And he went into how he watched us. He saw us when we came through in Chicago, and he was telling me how that was for him to witness us with the live band. And it was like his sorry of, I know who you are, I didn't mean that type of thing. But I was watching it again through his words.
And see, your professionalism and your devotion to the art inspired a young Kanye West.
Right. That's what his whole point was. Like, I didn't mean it like
over.
Right. Let me just, and in my mind, and what took me back to that moment again when I was suggesting to the management, like, you should be recording this. Wow. Because it shouldn't only be in his mind or the people who experienced us. Like, and I knew from, remember the little old white lady who said to me, document your own history. So I was just like, wow. But the Diggable Planets experience was amazing.
So that was a great experience.
Because I always was like, I used to watch Soul Train, and I was like, I'm going to get on Soul Train one day. And I didn't know how the hell, but I was like, I'm going to Soul Train. And they made that happen. Because you can Google it, it's on YouTube, you can find it. That's
that performance, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like,
that's wonderful. And so we fast forward a little bit to the mid-90s, and New York City's Hot 97 is the undisputed ruler of hip-hop radio.
Right. Tell
us about Ladies' Night.
And how did I get there?
And did you know that you guys would have like a lasting impact on the way mix shows are formatted and whatnot?
First of all, it was the early stages of mix show. Period. Point blank. There was a time where hip hop could only come on for like an hour after midnight, and to know that it came from that and to where it is right now worldwide
and 24/7.
Right. Back then.
Because Angie's the voice.
Right.
Angie Martinez is the voice in New York. She's
how
the voice
I got there
the
because I was hot on the streets via mixtapes. And
we're talking about, when we say mixtapes, we are actually mean cassette
it took
tapes.
45 minutes to record both sides, the A and the B side. So if you think of that in the sense of how quickly you could press send on something after you've done it, the difference in duplication and distribution. So I was hot on the streets, and it's always like, what am I gonna do next with the turntables? What can I do next? What are we gonna do next? And that was the focus became, I want to get on the radio. I want to get on the radio, and we would just holler and holler. And then we got the meetings. They told us what to do, and we did all of the things that he said. Present your mix on this format. Just did everything. Got up there, and then it was presented to me. What do you want to do? I came up there thinking I'm gonna have my own show. Like Flex got his, Jazzy Joyce, what's up? No, this is what we have, and we made the best of it. They didn't know. Like when you think about it, we were the early stages of everything hip hop. That's why we were on for 15 years, because they didn't know what to do with us in a sense. Everything about the culture was being formulated right in front of you. I didn't go to school for broadcasting, so my ability to speak to you in this manner and everything, I was whipped into shape and everything right in front of y'all. That was my schooling, in front of y'all. So Hot 97, like, we hear about different stories of things that went down. What's the wildest thing that you witnessed that happened at the studios of Hot 97? Well, for the first couple of years, we didn't go in only but to do what we do and then leave. So I didn't understand a lot of the inner works of the machine and all of that stuff. And then later on, I started becoming more involved. And there's always something. When there's a group of 1 million personalities and they're all alpha energies, like a bunch of creative people, something is going to happen. Good, bad, or indifferent. So there's always, I could tell you stories, but it's snitching. And we don't do that. And I try not to.
And you talked about, like, radio is really political. It's very political,
yes.
And it takes a lot of, whether it's greasing palms or, hobnobbing with people. Was that you? Was that part of your personality?
I didn't take payola for my entire career. Like, I wasn't part of that. So it's like when I would meet certain executives or whatever, oh, Jazzy, hi. Because they know when the list is going, they know who's taking what. So I didn't, when you think of it in that manner, I was choosing records because I liked them. Certain records, I wasn't influenced by the cash. So... back in the early stages of Mix Show, it wasn't as controlled. We had a lot more freedom. And then, through the years, they utilized us to make the culture what it is today. Like, they fine-tuned it and made us do things. And in the end, I have such an amazing understanding of the clock and timing and just all of these things. But,
so it was a good learning experience, because we're talking about 15 years.
Yeah, on the radio, yeah.
15 years on the radio. And for your personal stock as a personality, VH1 came to you and included you in Master of the Mix.
Yes.
The DJ competition show. Right. Which, in the DJ community, there was a little... some people felt a way about the show. They didn't think it was that dope, or, this person didn't deserve to be on it, or what. What was your perspective of the experience of being on that show?
It could have been a lot crazier, but in terms of the way they presented us, it was respectful, I think, for the craft. They did the best that they could. You have to think about when shows are produced, who's putting the money behind it to make it happen. So,
because were they wanting drama, behind the scenes drama
absolutely.
with the contestants, and
absolutely.
then, oh, by the way, there's a DJ contest at the same,
but it was format. Just presented differently. It wasn't the way it is. See, when you think about the other reality shows, not everybody in the room got a skill set. Like, what is this one's skill set? Oh, their butt is big or their tits are big. Like, we all were, it was a competition. So, and we really lived together in the house. It really, like, everything you watched was real. Except, it's basically, here's these people, here's the prize, here's some circumstances, and then they put us live wires in it. So however it played out was really real. It's unscripted. Everything else was presented, but
edited for TV.
Not even, it was real. So I'm sorry to those who didn't think it was up to par. Like I say with anybody who has complaints about anything that's produced, produce something better.
Produce your own.
Yeah.
And how did you feel like in the next season that you weren't a part of it? And
I had just cut my hair. I was supposed to be one of the judges. My mohawk wasn't quite as refined as it is now. Hold on, let me get my second section of live going.
Oh, okay.
We're going to save that part, at least.
So basically, Jazzy is she's saving her live feed.
Yeah.
So you can see this later on.
Yeah. So real quick, right? I felt like, dang, because Amber Rose got picked.
Amber Rose was picked as one of the co-hosts, which was kind of like a question mark on everybody's faces. Like, well, what does Amber Rose have to do with the
I was wondering too, and I'm not, no hate to her, no shade to her.
But it's Amber Rose, and Amber Rose is eye candy, and that's what people are going to go for. Your producers are going to go for, you being somebody to be presentable and, put this out for marketing purposes and get more viewers and whatnot.
Right. So it's business. It's not personal. I felt the way at first, but then I was like, whatever. And then that was it.
Done.
Yeah,
and the show's done too.
Yeah, it's business. It's not
business.
personal.
Right.
Shouts to Master the Mix, because it's all, every step is just you always hope to make the right step so that you keep carrying your legacy on. You don't want to step into the wrong situation that's counterproductive to your brand and just everything that you've done throughout your career, So, okay, so I know usually I try to stay at an hour, but, if we have somebody like a DJ Jazzy Joyce, you're going to go over just a little bit. So when we come back, we're going to wrap up our conversation, and we're going to have a little fun with a little rapid fire with Jazzy Joyce, and then a couple other questions. Aquaria, take us out of here with a little, boom bap on the ones and twos. But this is really, really great information. I can tell by everybody's faces here that they're like, wow. I hope
it's really good. So when we come back, we're going to have a little rapid fire with DJ Jazzy Joyce. This is Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. Come on back.
Yes.
Hey you enjoying the show? I know you are. This is DJ Sir Daniel, and I want to talk to my small business owners and even my big business owners. You want a custom-made commercial spot read on the Shuffle and Repeat podcast? Yeah, you do. All you need to do is just email me at shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. That's shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. We can work this out, and you can get your very own custom-made commercial spot read live on the air by yours truly, DJ Sir Daniel. It's as easy as emailing me at shuffleandrepeatpodcast@gmail.com. And now, guess what? Back to the show.
Thank you for everybody who did.
Yes. No, I thank everybody for coming out. Taking time on your Saturday.
Yes.
I appreciate you guys.
Yes, this karate flick time.
Oh, definitely.
No, when I was younger, that was part of it.
Channel
3 to 5.
Channel 5 in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn, so I know.
So I think it was Channel 5.
Yep.
It was either
so
Channel 5 or 11.
Karate flicks.
Yeah, I miss
definitely.
those days, but this is that time of the day.
That's the kind of conversation we're having here on the Shuffle and Repeat podcast. I'm your host, DJ Sir Daniel. We are still here talking with DJ Jazzy Joyce, who is just dropping gem after gem after gem. Just a quick, kind of a serious question, a little political. Right now, there's a movement here in the state of Georgia to ban R. Kelly from performing here. And the surrounding his, the very public allegations that are out about, his antics. His activities. So now let me asking you as a DJ, I've heard conversation, DJs are now having this discussion about whether or not to play his records or any records that you deem morally out of place. Like, do you exercise your editorial right during your set whether or not to include an artist or a record, that you disagree with?
If I were to do that, a lot of people wouldn't get their record played. You can't take your personal feelings and make a business decision.
Wow.
That's it. It's business. I was coming here in the Uber and I heard his song. They still using his music. It's nothing personal. It's a tragic situation, but everything about everything, if you really go into the background of people and what they do when they leave here, we don't know who does what with whom when they leave from when they see you. When you shake somebody's hand, you gotta wonder what they was doing before they even shook your hand. So, I know it's not cool in a sense, the way they're depicting him. Robert has been who he is.
And like you said, it's not even just about R. Kelly, but, because if we go down the line, if we did that,
you want me to break it down?
Michael Jackson records?
You want me to break it down? What I think it is from a business point of view and just a different critical mind thought on it. What was recently named the number one genre? R&B, right?
R&B, okay.
His catalog is strong. His live performance is strong. He's mature. They got to get him out of the way. And that's the number one genre, but who's really running it? The music and the culture has been taken over by people who are not black. Like, some of the biggest R&B records are not from a black artist. So there's, it's just a system. It's just to build you up, to tear you down. The last batch of young ladies are of age. The man likes to sleep with younger women. He's older, so now they're not young. They're not underage, but he's still doing what he does. There's some
allegedly,
people,
right?
Allegedly, and there's some people who do way worse. So I'm not judgmental in that manner of him, but that I think it's more so and as well the attack on Usher and everything. Like, you gotta move these, get out of here. Like, they had a long run. How do you push them? How do you push them out? You gotta destroy them.
Destroy their personal character. Go after their character. And we've seen that before. It's been done before.
Right. So he was, prior to that, Robert was, you hear my son this time, he was tiptoeing across the nation, stepping in the name of love, making money. It was like, oh no, hey, stop that tour bus.
But
they're derailing him.
But some people, like, if you play that now, there'll be certain people who have those reactions like, oh, I can't dance to this anymore. It's like, if the crowd stops moving to it, do we stop playing it?
But it's like what about the records that glorify so much other stuff? That's why I said, if I really thought of it in that way,
we wouldn't be playing anything.
Yeah, like, from young, I've always had that moral fight.
Gotcha.
Because of lyrics and stuff like that. So it's tough sometimes, but I'm seasoned and in a place, like I said, where I don't make a business decision with my personal feelings.
Gotcha.
There's some records I hate personally.
Yeah.
But I will present it to you like I love it because it needs to be in the mix of whatever I'm doing at the time.
Exactly.
It's just, they're all tools.
So, Global Spin Awards, New Music Seminar Battle wins, Gold Records. Out of all of those accolades, what has been the accomplishment that you're most proud of?
The fact that when you look around and I was a young girl being bought parade. I wouldn't say paraded, but just bought around the world because this was a new thing, and to know that I was like one of the there wasn't hardly any females all around the world, so it makes me smile when I see the females represented and they're doing it well. Because there was no one around the whole world like you could, and I've been traveling since very young and to understand how the globe is and how everything. So that's like a proud accomplishment in a sense because I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
Doing this, like there's stories. I'm in the process of writing a book, so y'all could really get the other, like the inside, the other stuff that you just don't like. You never knew I lost my record collection. I'm not on the gram talking about that, and you don't know how many times people cry or what they cry, like the stories, the other stuff that you asked about. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
but I'm seeing just, like a DJ Aquaria,
yeah,
you know, putting it down on the tables, that has to make you feel good.
That's one of the things that makes me proud because it makes me not feel bad about all of the things that I've endured. Because when I see a young lady and she's all naked or exposed and DJing, it's hurtful. Because that young lady doesn't know what I went through to make sure that she didn't have to do that. Mm. So that, you know what I'm saying, on the flip side of that. So, but I mean, I'm just thankful. I'm a young lady who, if I didn't take that first mixtape from my bedroom and put it in the universe, I would never have a reason to be here. So that's thankful in itself. Like my turntables took me all around the world. If I didn't go ahead and do that, I wouldn't have never been able to go to Tokyo, Belgium, London. Like those are all of the things that I could be thankful for. When I think about all of the bad things, the balance is the good things.
Wow.
And you know.
So you've mastered the art of DJing. Mm-hmm. You are now mastering the art of, I guess, painting, but painting as well. Please tell us about Need That Rose Gold.
Okay, it's just a name that I came up with because I started expressing paint-wise, like the culture of hip-hop had elements. The essence of my handwriting, if you see it, has remnants of graffiti because all of the elements, we were all, it was all a part of the elements. So it's just, I'm choosing to express another part of me in another way, like, and I'm just fine-tuning it. So you're in the fine-tuning process. That's why when you look at the Need That Rose Gold page, you can see how from when I first started, like showing it to the world. And I hand paint T-shirts.
Specifically, you hand paint these T-shirts. You graciously gave me my own shirt today, and I'm so thankful for that, and I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
When you see art, and you know, I hang with a lot of artists, and when you do something, you put your heart and soul in.
If you want to.
A
lot of people like the packaging, the way I set it up and everything.
Really
They're
nice.
like, they don't want to open it. If you want to save it till later and open it and take pictures.
I'm going to save it till later.
So then you do that. And I respect you for not allowing me to influence you to do something that you didn't want to do. You saw
that's
how
really
he was
dope,
like,
though. It's like, I want to savor that moment.
Yeah, so take it. So I've been doing that. I'll eventually want to, do prints, but not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So it's just another form of expression. There's a lot of artists that we didn't know that painted. Like I didn't know Michael Jackson was painting. Imagine, but he was so busy running for his life because they was after him. When we really watch and look back at, he was running with his kids. He was rich house hopping because they was on him because he had that Beatles catalog. Real, that's a whole nother level of conversation and industry and mob and gangster, like a little bit of everything that we kind of touched on throughout this conversation, but that's a whole nother level. But there's other creatives that are singers and all that, but because it's got to come out. You have energy in you that you have to express, and either you're going to use it for good or bad. You ever notice that? When you see a little kid and you see he's bright, he's smart, but you could tell when he's bad, he's going to be the bad. If you don't get him into karate or something and redirect that, it's going to be bad. You got to redirect it to good. Like, he might start out bad, but if you redirect it, then he refocuses and gets to understand himself and kind of rechannel that energy. But the painting is just another form of expressing. Why? Because I'm not at the level. I'm still incredible, but I'm not doing what I was doing at the level that I was doing it. When I was in my prime, like, sometimes when I listen back to myself and my recordings, I realize why they were like, this fucking bitch. Because I was doing a lot. That's why y'all kind of know of me, and because I didn't realize we were creating history. So I pushed the bar far, but I didn't realize that we were just pushing. We were just breaking through. We was going, trudging, bang, bang, just. So I finally had a chance to sit back and take a.
I was going to say, did you enjoy it? Did you have a chance to enjoy that moment of making history? Because from the outside looking in,
we didn't know what we were doing. You understand?
Because on the outside looking in, it's like, wow, Ladies Night, Hot 97, Funk Master Flex is dropping bombs. You're thinking, that's the life. That's what you want to aspire to. But at the time, you were just like,
We were just in it. We were in it, and I loved it. But I didn't understand everything the way I do now. And if I did, if I could do it all over again, it would be done differently. The same, but other added things would have been in place along my journey, so that I could have documented even more or done even more outside of when I was moving. Look, the streams off of me, I would have made them amount to something more than just me trudging, because I was just going.
Wow.
That's it. We didn't know. If we know, yeah.
So then what's the takeaway for anybody listening right now? What's the takeaway if you want to get in this life of DJing? What is the takeaway?
Well, now it's different because of technology. So as a parallel, when you look at the industry, there's so many industries where they've been flooded by other humans because of technology. Or your job has been taken away because of technology. And the takeaway from it is, like, whatever you do the best that you can, because that's what I did. Even if I was just mowing lawns, I would have been trying to be creative and how I'm going to be the best lawn mower and how I'm going to maximize and understand when the rain comes. Whatever you do, just do your best. That's it.
Got you. So we're going to wrap this up with a rapid fire with you real quick, okay? So first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. 86 Jetta or a 94 Land Cruiser?
86 Jetta.
The Jetta.
Land Cruisers suck. Jetta's still popping now.
Jetta. I see a lot of Jettas.
Yeah, they're
around.
still popping now.
Real fly. Favorite record to begin your set?
Anything with a good opening line. Or it depends. Like, you can't, I'm such a critical DJ. My thought process on that first record is governed by so many things. Okay. I'm coming early. I'm an hour and a half sometimes early listening to the DJ before me, because I don't want to play nothing that he played already, or I'm timing when he played it so that I could know if I could bring it back. So my first record choice is governed by different, but here's the first choice out. No matter what the first record is, I'm going to introduce myself.
Okay.
That's the icebreaker right there. That's the sometimes I'm so brutal, just cut everything off. A hard reset. You understand what I'm saying? They looking around like, what happened?
What happened to the music?
Yeah, I'm erasing the legacy. I'm like a lion who comes in and kills all the cubs from the previous nigga that was in there doing it. You understand what I'm saying? He coming killing off everybody.
Dead it.
Right.
Dead it and then
it all
set
depends. Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
hard reset sometimes. It depends on how I want to start off.
So the next one, vinyl, CDJs, or controllers?
Controllers. I'm a modern day animal. It doesn't matter. If you're a chef and they change the knives, you still a nasty chef. It's just a new knife.
Gotcha.
That's it. Some people are purists. I'm 50 years old. You see how tiny these hands are? They were hurting moving that 1 million records every time I had to move. I don't miss that. When I was carrying crates by myself, people wasn't being gentlemen like lady. They saw competition. They didn't see a lady who was carrying crates. They was like, carry your own. So I don't miss that. I still come in and make the same effect because it's the music and the way I present it. So my tool could be anything. I'm still gonna come in here and try to make you feel something.
Gotcha.
When
Favorite after gig meal?
A lot of you didn't notice I have Crohn's disease. It's an irritable bowel disease. There were times when I used to be after a party throwing up. So one of my favorite drinks might have been Pedialyte to get them electrolytes back. So we don't know. So hydration.
Right.
More than a meal.
Okay.
Hydration, and I don't drink alcohol. So it'll be something like water or something, just hydration. Try to take care of yourself. The DJ, the life, our sleep patterns and all that shit gets all messed up from the lifestyle. So you gotta try to eat as healthy as you can.
DJ Jazzy Joyce, this has been an amazing opportunity, and I thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. Again, I want to say thank you to DJ Precise, the whole Scratch Atlanta Academy DJ school staff,
Yes.
everybody that came out.
Yes. Don't forget.
Please tell everybody where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Follow me on Instagram at Jazzy Joyce. Twitter and Facebook is DJ Jazzy Joyce. And my website is djjazzyjoyce.us, whichever way. And tonight, if y'all not doing anything, I'm DJing at Skate Town for a great cause. It's for, I'm sorry, I don't have the notes on it, but just for a great cause to stop the violence, peace, all of that. So if y'all not doing anything, come through and follow me on Instagram and all of that. And thank you.
No, thank you. Listen, and what's bugged out about this is like just me doing this whole podcast was just me saying, you know what, if I'm just going to stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yes.
And one of the things that I did was, you know what, I want to talk to Jazzy Joyce. Let me just send her an email just on a humbug, not thinking.
We got to thank Jenna for that.
Jenna, yes, thank you, Jenna, for reaching back and making this happen.
PR. Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, for the price that you paid for the culture. We thank you.
Yeah,
we thank you so much. All right, this is DJ Sir Daniel. This has been Shuffle and Repeat, the podcast. Remember, I'm doing it for the culture because we are the culture. Thank you so much, and come on back.
Thank you. Yes.
JC, you got something you want to add?